Welcome to Slasher Sunday. It is rock and roll themed horror week over in Killer Flicks, so it was high time, and I mean high time, that I talked about Slumber Party Massacre 2. That's right, let's buzz, people. Of course, I want to show off, and I had to wear the shirt that a subscriber of mine purchased and sent to me. I had no idea. It was a total surprise. You can watch that video on here. Jillian, who I don't know his actual name. I saw it. Oh, I forget it now. He's actually a member of Killer Flicks. But thank you again, man. I can't love this shirt more. It is the coolest damn shirt. But anyways, I am a big Slumber Party Massacre fan, mostly Slumber Party Massacre 2, but I do have all of it on VHS, on DVD, and on Blu-ray. So every time something gets released, I just have to pick it up because I just love Part 2 so much. I even have, it's one of my frame posters. Yeah, you can see my lights. Yeah, it's a big deal to be up there. You can't ever see it. I wish I could get that in shot, in frame here, but I can't. I've showed you guys around it before, but yeah, it's one of, if not the only movie, the only slasher, yeah, that I haven't reviewed yet. It's funny. I'm looking up here, and it's one of the only movies I haven't reviewed yet. I was really kind of waiting for Rock and Roll Week. I knew it was going to happen eventually, and I don't know. But I love the fucking hell out of this movie. Mostly because of just how insane the movie is. Just the fact that it's a sequel. I think that if it wasn't a sequel to the first one, which is very straightforward, standard horror fare. It's actually not very good. It's pretty boring. But the fact that Deborah Brock took this in the way that she did, I don't know. I've always been such a fan of getting weird with shit. And especially taking gigantic risks like this. Yes, there's franchises where I wouldn't want them to do something like that, like completely ignore the themes and setups and all that kind of stuff. Like, I wouldn't want them to do that with like Star Wars. But I don't know, with Slumber Party Massacre, I guess it's just not something that I care all that much about, whether or not they are going to follow the storyline from the first one. I mean, the killer dies in the first one. Spoilers. So it was just kind of like, all right, they want to make a second one. What's also really odd about this movie is I don't really feel like, I mean, how many horror movie franchises have sequels that have nothing to do with the original and are called, part 2 or 3 or 4? I've seen tons and tons of them. It's just like, okay, well, this is a second one, like the Witchboard franchise or whatever. There's tons of them out there where it's like, this one has nothing to do with the previous installment. And so, as I said, like in it, like that would have worked too. The fact that they connected this to the first one and that they made it this rock and roll killer and all about, he's like a Freddy Krueger of sorts, because he's like a dream killer, basically. It's just so fucking out there. It's a pretty silly ass film regardless if it was attached to the Slumber Party Massacre franchise, but the fact that this is supposed to be a sequel to the first one is kind of funny to me. What's also hilarious to me is that Sorority House Massacre 2 has way more footage and way more connection, not really, but sort of, than this one does. It has tons of footage from Slumber Party Massacre 1, and they actually use that as the story of what the killer was, what happened to that house, and blah, blah, blah. This one, there's very little footage used from the first one. There's very little connection, except for that she's the sister of one of the people who survived that night and lost her mind. But we really don't get her story at all, the sister. It's just kind of, she's background. She's just a throwaway line almost. And so the fact they even bothered connecting this, I think this was just Deborah Brock took on this project. She had a vision in mind. She may have already written a script about this, and then she just, retrofitted it for the Slumber Party Massacre franchise. And she's like, all right, well, I'll make her have a crazy sister, and that crazy, from the first film or something. Like, I can't believe that she got this project and then was like, okay, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, like, the way it would make sense to me is that she already had this vision, and maybe she just, was like, all right, yeah, fine, I'll make it, and supposedly didn't have anything in mind, but then she just kind of went off in her own direction and wanted to do her own thing. But it's such an out there film. Anyways, all right, we're done. Yeah, anyways, this Blu-ray transfer is really cool. So if you're a big fan of Slumber Party Massacre 2 like I am, I can't imagine you don't have this. But not only is the Blu-ray really freaking cool, but they have a 9-minute longer version of the film on here. It is a unrated cut, which I have watched. I can't remember anything being all that amazing in here, but it's cool to see new footage. And Slumber Party Massacre 2 has a 12-minute longer version of it, so that's pretty kick-ass. Just that alone, seeing new footage from Slumber Party Massacre 2, which I've seen the movie a ton. You can even see on the back here that the dude, that's clearly like a guy in a burn suit. That's clearly not the killer. He's in like a white mask to protect his face from burns. It's so funny they show that on the back here. It's like, that's clearly not the killer. I've also been always kind of, I don't know, enamored by who the hell this chick is. I don't know who that's supposed to be, but it sure as hell, I don't know, because that's Sheila, and that's Sally, and that sure as hell ain't Amy, and it definitely ain't Courtney, so I don't know. So anyways, let's get into the movie. I mentioned that in my last thing when I was talking about my shirt, and I actually called her the drummer, and I was like, wait a minute, dummy. No, Sally's the drummer, but whatever. All right, let's talk about this movie. Let's get into it. Slasher Sunday. Been wanting to do this one for a while. This is actually the only Slasher Sunday review I haven't done for a film that has footage in my opening that you just watched, my Slasher Sunday opening. There's footage from this one. And I think I've covered every other film in that intro. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm going to have to watch and be like, have I? I think I have. But anyways. All right. So I think I've talked about that this is a very weird sequel enough. So we can just mark that off. And I really like a lot of the music in this. I catch myself singing Tokyo Convertible a little too much, even though that's not really a good song. I don't know. That's that part of them when they're sitting in the car and they're just like, I want to be, I don't know what it is. That song pops into my head all the time, and I'll just start singing it really loud around people, and they'll just look at me, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I do really I think their band, like the couple songs that they play, they're pretty good. I mean, I think that they actually fit the 80s theme of this. I think that their band is actually pretty damn good. And Amy, who is a Playboy centerfold, and it's funny because she signed a contract for this movie to feature no nudity. I'm guessing she wanted to try to get into acting seriously. And I have to say, of all the characters in this, I actually think that she gives the best performance. So I mean, I think she was really trying to take this seriously and just kind of got caught in a super goofy movie, and she kind of probably came out of this like, ah, fuck. Like when she watched it, she was like, ah, well, there went my career. So I don't know. I guess her trying to take the high road here and not show her nudity, which I looked up. I didn't even know she was a Playboy model until I was reading the trivia on this, and then I was like, because I was bummed because I think she's the prettiest girl in the movie. I think all the girls are super attractive, but I think she's just standout beautiful, and she has this incredible set of tits, and you can see in her shirt and her cleavage and everything, and Sheila is the one who shows her boobs, and they all kind of hint at it, but Amy's the one that you're like, please. And then I was like, it's such a bummer. And then I found out she's a Playboy model. So I went and I Googled her images from the Playboy shoots, and I was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, you definitely wanted to see them. But she it's funny that she's a Playboy model. And she was like, no, I don't want to show any nudity. So yeah, she was definitely trying to take this seriously. And it's like, I don't think Slumber Party Massacre 2 is the film to take seriously. But hey, I mean, that's your call. You definitely have the right to say no. I don't know. I think she picked the wrong movie to try to get serious with. Oh, Matt. Matt's so dreamy. Rewatching this movie, I have to believe that there's a few different interpretations you could gather from watching this. A, that he is somehow real. I don't see how that's possible. B, she's pulling her friends into her dreams, or she's pulling him out of her dreams and into reality, Freddy Krueger style. One or the other. Like, she's pulled them collectively into her dream world where he's able to exist and do some of the things that he does, and live in this kind of parody world where random nobodies can throw him champagne while he's doing a rock ballad whilst trying to kill somebody. So his character is so unbelievable that it has to be in some kind of alternate reality, whether he's being pulled out of her dream or she's bringing people into her dream or whatever. And then there's the third option, which is what this movie hints at the end, which is that she's just insane and she's in a psych ward. Like, you see her sister in there before, but it's actually her. And she's made all of this up in her head, and we're just kind of living her nightmare. So yeah, I think that those are the three options. I tend to go with the option that she's pulling people into her nightmares. Like, that for me works, but at the same time, I think like her being crazy and being in a nut house works equally as good. So I don't know, that's a hard one for me. It doesn't really matter, of course, these are fucking stupid and silly, but for fun, I mean, just for shits and giggles, I like to kind of try to figure that out, and I guess it does make the most sense that she's just a lunatic. I mean, that would obviously make the most logical sense, but for a fictional universe where things like this could happen, I like to lean towards that she's bringing him to fruition from being scared, whatever, and bringing him out of her dream like Freddy, except for she doesn't have to grab a hold of him. She just has to, I don't know, fully commit to the fear of him or whatever, because once he kills Matt, he becomes real right before he kills Matt, but right after he kills Matt, she runs downstairs, and her friends who have been giving her shit the entire movie, like, this isn't real, nothing's happening. He then comes out, and they all see him, and they all end up getting killed by him. And I think he is able to manipulate her mind, or she's manipulating her own mind, and she's bringing these demons out into the open because she envisions so many different things. But I do want to say that I have to also kind of sway to the side of that he, from the inside, is pushing, like, he's in her mind. Like, the nightmares reside in somewhere in her mind, in her brain, in her whatever. And he's able to manipulate her from the inside, manipulate what she's seeing while awake. Maybe because she's hungover and she's more susceptible to being in like a daydream-like state to where he can manipulate her visions or whatever, so she can see a hand as a burger, or she could see a chicken who jumps out of the freaking refrigerator and attacks her, or that ridiculous scene where Sally has this enormous zit on the side of her face. It's such a disgusting practical effect, and I love it. It just squirts pus all over her face. So, I don't know. I mean, as stupid as the movie is, it really is a dumbass movie. But there's so much charm in it to me. And a lot of that I have to give credit to the killer in this movie. He's just so charismatic, and he's so funny and wild and eccentric, and he has such great, like, you know, physical prowess. Like he brings that, I don't know, like, as I said, that physical presence. There's something about it that I really just enjoy from him. He also has a very weird scene where I don't know how this is possible. I've tried to figure out how to do it many times, except for I just think I'm going to hurt myself down where it counts. But he does a rail slide, like one leg on either side of the rail, and slides down like a staircase railing. How? How could you do that without destroying your balls or your dick? Like, I don't, And he does it in the movie, so I don't know if he was wearing something or what, but man, that scene looked rough. I love his songs. I really do. The Let's Buzz that he sings when he's going after Sheila, and they have like an hour to let her in the room, and for some reason they're not. Then they decide to try, and they're like trying to move the little dresser that they put in the way, and it's like, you put it there in 5 seconds. Why couldn't you get it out of the way in 2 minutes? Who cares? But yeah, him singing, I love those songs. I legitimately love the couple songs that he sings in this movie while he's, and that's just it. That, like, those are the scenes that make this movie. There's plenty of other things that I fully enjoy about this film. But the scenes where I'm having the most fun, that I'm laughing, that I'm feeling all the nostalgia, all the love for this movie, is when he's attacking Sheila, and he's doing his Let's Buzz song, and then when he's chasing after Amy and Courtney, and he's doing that other song. There's something about those songs that really just gets to me. The way he's performances, the way he's delivering the guitar solos and the singing, and all of that stuff just works so well for me. It's so silly. I love ridiculously silly films, so this is like the perfect film for that. And of course, this is one of those movies that's trying to warn girls against having premarital sex or whatever, like all fucking horror movies seem to be doing. I'm not sure why, but I guess, I don't know. These always seem to retain, these 80s movies always seem to retain that. Like, if you have sex, you die. And this one's just very heavy-handed with it. It's just, the killer keeps telling her, like, don't go all the way. And when she finally, like, doesn't listen, and she starts making out with Matt in the bed, that's when he comes through and is able, like, I guess that's it. Like, her sister even warns her of it, like, don't go all the way. And she finally, like, she's not getting, like, I don't know, that feels cheap to me, because he should have been inside of her. That would have made more sense. Like, her making out with him, like, she kissed him earlier in the movie. But I guess she consented to the sex in that moment in her mind, and that's what freed this killer from her mind, was the consent. I don't know. That just seems cheap to me. Like, I would be more on board with it, maybe because I just want to see a sex scene, because I'm a pervert. But no, really, like, I feel like the way they set this up, she should have been in the middle of a sex act, and then he could have came through. Or Matt could have. Boom. All right, moving on. The whole, like, in another great dance sequence is the girls having their full on, like, stereotypical, what guys want to imagine girls are doing during a slumber party. They're, spraying champagne on each other and hitting each other with pillows and bringing, pulling their tits out. And we know this doesn't happen. Like, it might at some, just because they think it's funny to do what we think they do. But for the most part, I can assume They don't do this. I love that line between TJ and his buddy where he's like, I didn't know girls actually did this. And he's like, they don't. We're dead, dude. And this is heaven. Fucking TJ. TJ is such a moron, but like he's moronically hilarious to me. He's right on that borderline. Like he dips his toe back and forth, like in that, like, he's so annoying. Oh, he's so funny. Oh, he's so annoying. Oh, he's so funny. Like, he reminds me a lot, not as good, because this guy's always got his fucking full-on body on the right side of awesome. But his character kind of reminds me of a version of Crispin Glover's character in River's Edge, which, if you haven't seen The River's Edge, whew, dog, you need to see that movie. But yeah, it just kind of reminds me a little bit of that character. He has some great lines in this. He does. And that's just it. As I said, like, he annoys the shit out of me, but he also entertains the shit out of me. And he just kind of keeps going back and forth on that. No, go away. You're supposed to be dead. I love it. I love these lines that he delivers in this. He like gives Courtney a back rub and then throws her in the pool while she's having a headache. Total dick ass move. And then when she's trying to explain her story, he just like throws his head back and he's like, oh man, shit, this is getting too stupid. Like, I mean, as much as I feel like he's a dick in that moment, that's exactly what I'd be thinking in that moment. I just don't think I'd say it out loud. We also have a rock and roll high school on the television scene here. And Deborah Brock, who wrote and directed this movie, went on to 4 years later, I want to say, directed and wrote Rock and Roll High School Forever. So this was like a little preemptive, prediction almost. Very reminiscent for me of when you see The Thing in John Carpenter's Halloween, and then, 4 years later, I just realized that, he made The Thing. He remade The Thing. So I thought that was kind of cool that she called that. I don't know if she knew she was doing it or not, or if she was just such a huge fan of it, and then she got to do it. Either way. I've also haven't really talked about how much, I've talked about it a lot in my other reviews, but how much I love this guitar. I adore this guitar. It's my favorite killing weapon ever in a horror movie, and I've always dreamt that if I ever become a millionaire, like a big-time money-making dude, I want to track that thing down if it still exists and purchase it. Like, I want that thing in my life. Like, that would be the jewel in my crown, man, in my horror collection. So one day, man, one freaking day, I love the hell out of that thing. Fucking Sally. Sally is also another character that kind of reminds me of TJ. She's got this like really deep voice, but she talks like a Valley girl. It's a weird combination because Valley girls usually talk higher pitched, but she has this really like dumb, like low voice like TJ. And she just cracks me the fuck up, man. So many things she says in this. We have a lot of horror homages here. The family they talk about is the Cravens. The officers who come over are Officer Voorhees and Kruger. So a lot of little nods there. Who the hell cleaned up the house after their little party? And they threw feathers everywhere. Oh my God, that place was a train wreck. And what assholes. Like, this is their parents' brand new house, and you're spraying champagne all over the floor, eating on everything, and freaking throwing, like, feathers all over it, and, like, stamping them in. Jesus Christ. And as crazy as Courtney is in this movie, I have to feel bad for the chick, because as I've said many, many times in the past, like, it would suck to see things that aren't really there. You trust what you see. That's just reality. And that would be awful. And so I have to feel for her as insane as all of this is. We get a backseat. Oh shit, I almost knocked my fucking camera off there. We get a backseat kill. He's jumps up in the back seat and he puts a freaking drill through the guy. Very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, the ending of that movie. Spoilers for that movie. There you go. And oh, let's see. Yeah, the killer in this dresses like Andrew Dice Clay. I was noticing that this time. It's like fucking shopping at the Andrew Dice Clay store. Yeah, I mean, I think I've said mostly everything I want to. It's just I'm reiterating things over and over. But anybody else a big fan of this movie? I mean, I could gloat and I could go on about this movie for a while, but I don't want to ramble too long. I think I've already like hit way too long into this, but I've really been looking forward to this one. And I'm going to watch a bunch of rock and roll horror movies this week. I only have like 9 episodes of Tales from the Crypt left that I need to get done by Friday, so I should be able to get a bunch of those done. So I will be doing, all the movies I will be doing this week will be rock and roll horror themed for sure, all the way up until Friday. But by then we'll have a new theme, so it'll be a perfect timing to end this. But until then, guys, happy Slasher Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow for Monster Monday.